Hello everyone, Jay Whitner here with Kickstarter Coaching and our internet TV show crowdfunding coverage. We do a quick recap of what happens each month in the crowdfunding space, and today we'll be talking about July of 2017. Our show is brought to you by the Space Finance Group and Kickstarter Coaching. In July of 2017, there were 8 big campaigns that got funded through crowdfunding in July. These big campaigns brought in about $17 million, and the biggest campaign was Dungeon of Doom, handcrafted terrain that we'll talk about later in our show. But first, some news items. Equity crowdfunding is slightly over 1 year old now, and we're seeing increasing momentum in the equity crowdfunding space. As you can see from this graph in the lower right-hand part of the screen, the active number of campaigns is really increasing quite rapidly over the last few months, to where at the moment apparently there's roughly 125 active campaigns being funded right now, and equity crowdfunding has now brought in roughly $46 million. So things are ramping up slower than originally thought, but the pace is increasing. Kickstarter had some interesting news in July. One of the co-founders, the last one actively involved in company management, CEO Yancey Strickler, is going to be stepping down later on this year. He apparently is interested in some new horizons after being at the helm of Kickstarter for roughly a decade. So good luck to Mr. Strickler, and hopefully Kickstarter will find a good person to take over. We're going to talk about 8 big campaigns. The size of the campaigns, they raised anywhere from $1.2 to $3.1 million. The length of the videos, which is quite important, ranged from roughly 2 minutes to about 5.5 minutes, which is getting rather long. The duration of the campaigns ranged from 24 to 60 days. The reward levels range from a quite unusual single reward up to 14, which is a pretty reasonable number, I would say. And the updates range from a really not very overwhelming 1 update up to 31 updates. So the campaigns themselves. The first campaign was for something called the Smart Belt. This is basically a semi-indestructible belt with a Kevlar interior and infinite adjustments. Instead of like the holes every inch, this has, I think it was every 1/8 of an inch or something. So a very nice product, have a belt that fits nicely. Some of the things they did in their campaign that helped them be successful, where they had early bird pricing, where there's a nice discount for the people that come in early. They offered their product in multiple colors and finishes. This is really quite important if you can economically offer this, because it gives the buyer a choice. Also, campaigns are visible on the Kickstarter site permanently, so they had a post-campaign order button. So if someone is looking at their campaign, once the Kickstarter phase is complete, they can click on that button and go to their website and order the product. Next, we had an interesting product called the Snorkel. This is a sort of a small scuba tank that you can recharge in various ways, including a hand pump out in the field. So instead of going to a dive shop or something like that to get the high pressures needed to recharge the tank, you can do this yourself. It's a small tank, so it has like a 10-minute activity period underwater. This campaign did quite well. They had a graphic rewards section visually showing what the rewards would be for the people who backed the campaign. They had a multiple unit reward. So for example, if you had a dive shop, you might want to buy 6 of these things. So they had some rewards that were suitable for that. Also, they had free global shipping, which is kind of unusual, but a nice perk for something that's a little bit bulkier, where shipping is a more significant issue. Next, we had a 3D printer. This is called the Obsidian 3D printer. A very affordable printer, and we see the prices continuing to drop in the 3D printer space. Some of the things that they did with their campaign is they had a nice competition chart showing how their product compared to other products you might buy instead. This is a great strategy if you objectively have an advantage over your competitors. They used the GIFs in their campaign. These are the brief videos without audio that you see. They had supplemental videos. This is important, and I mentioned it probably on most episodes, but you're not limited to one video, but your main campaign video must be fairly short. So if you have more stuff to say, use additional videos. Another thing they had was translations into various languages. If you think your campaign has the potential to get international traction, think about what languages are likely to come into play and figure out how you're going to provide translations for those markets. Next, we had a set of interesting kitchen knives in Japanese steel. This harkens back to the samurai swords where they folded the steel again and again and again for great strength and durability. So this company did some good things in their campaign. They had a section of media logos. This is where you collect the logos of the media companies that covered your campaign and have a section in that so people can see that the media is paying attention, that you're newsworthy. They also use the mini videos, the GIFs that I mentioned in the last campaign. And they had stretch goals in their campaign. If you're new to Kickstarter, it's an all or nothing platform, which means if you don't reach your funding threshold that you specify, you don't get funded at all. So that puts a lot of pressure on individuals and companies to set the funding goal as low as possible. What the stretch goal's purpose is to allow you to augment your offering with various enhancements if you get more money. And you express that in your campaign through stretch goals, such that, okay, if we reach 100,000, we'll add this, that, or the other thing. So anyway, that was a knife campaign that did quite well for a set of kitchen knives. Next, we have the Nomad Backpack and Travel Pack. This company has had a successful outing on Kickstarter before. They're returning for another engagement, and they had two products: the backpack and the travel pack, for depending on how much stuff you needed to carry with you. Some of the interesting aspects of their campaign were two products. Again, giving the buyer a choice. Do you want to get the backpack or do you want to get the travel pack? From their prior experience on Kickstarter, they got some good press in their earlier campaign. So they gathered together what's called a press kit, which is specific materials that the press would want, high resolution imagery and backstory and different things that maybe the typical backer wouldn't really need. So they aggregate all this material that the press might want and offer it through a link on the page. That way you're not cluttering up the page with all that stuff, but it's available easily for the press. And again, these people are using the GIFs as well, the miniature videos. Next, we had the Fuse card, which was a very interesting idea. I know that many of us have a wallet with a ton of different cards in your wallet, different credit cards, debit cards, bank cards, gas cards, whatever. This card is like a scanner that you scan your existing credit cards and basically load the information into a single card. So instead of carrying, for example, 20 cards in your wallet, you carry one card that has all the different information in it. They raised a lot of money, over $2 million with this idea. Some of the things they did is they had a competitor chart. They're not the only people trying to do this, so they showed what the competitors were doing. They had supplemental videos, again, to fully explain what you're doing. You may want to have more than the 2 or 3 minutes of video. That should be your primary video, so you can have a second or third video in your campaign if you want. They also had a lot of good information about their team. Who's the team behind it? What are their names? What do they look like? What are their titles in the company? Seeing who's behind it gives the backers more confidence to put their money up behind the effort. Next, we have Liberty Plus. This is a campaign about wireless earphones. There are the traditional earbuds that have wires that go from the ear all the way to your phone, and some earphones have like two earphones with a wire between them, and that wirelessly connects to your phone. But this is fully wireless, so no wires at all, just the earbuds wirelessly connect to your phone. Some of the neat things about their product is they had a graphene driver in their headphones, which is very, very strong and light, very long battery lifetime. They really tried to address many of the issues that have plagued some of the other wireless headphone ideas. So they offer their earphones in two colors. Again, give the buyer a choice. They had a stretch goal in their campaign that they reached, and they used the supplemental videos that we've talked about in some of the earlier campaigns. Very strong campaign. They raised almost $3 million. That brings us to the biggest campaign of the month, the Dungeon of Doom. Handcrafted game terrain by Dwarven Forge. These people have had several campaigns in the past. I think this is, I'm not sure, half a dozen campaigns for them now or something. In this campaign, they had over 50 stretch goals that they reached. They had 80 add-on options that they added or offered in their campaign. This is a good way to keep your price down. If they want extra things, they can pay extra for them, but keep the base price as low as you can. They had a very long, very informative web page, and they even had links in there that led to more information, without which it would have been an even longer web page. But for this game, they raised over $3 million. Congratulations to them. Fantastic effort. That's it for crowdfunding coverage for July of 2017. Hope you'll be back, and we'll tell you about what happens in August. Take care.